Welcome to your morning cup. Today's September 11th, Friday, 2020. Recording out of New York City, Brooklyn, New York to be exact. I'm your host, W. Dubois, of course. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the 19th anniversary of the World Trade Center bombings and the bombings in D.C. and the plane crash in Pennsylvania. The plane crash in the Pentagon in D.C. We lived through. I lived through it. A lot of my peers lived through it. A lot of people watching. Most of the people probably watching lived through it. As far as looking at the age demographics, a lot of people my age, are watching and lived through that. And it's undeniable what a trying and chaotic time that was, and it's a time that changed our lives forever. Very similar to what's happening now. More deaths now, in a larger amount of time. But we've been living through a disaster the last 8 months. With that said, it's just interesting how we're selectively taught and told to never forget this tragic terroristic act that happened 19 years ago. They're reading off the names right now as I record this. God bless all of them, all of the fallen ones, innocent people, who were sacrificed in a greater scheme. And I think it's a scheme that has not been fully executed, or maybe it's being executed right now in the process of. But we're gonna find out more probably when we're old and gray. When all those intelligence reports come out 30 years from now. They came out 50 years later with King and Kennedy and all that stuff. So they let them go about 40, 50 years. They start letting go of the intelligence reports. They let the American people know when the American people who cared at the time are old and gray and dead. So they they told us just recently to give us more information about the reports on the Kennedy assassination, or both of the Kennedy, all of that stuff from the 60s. And 70s in Vietnam, and when the Cuban Missile Crisis and the Gulf of Tonkin, all of those stories, you find out the real events. They release them intelligence reports. They don't hold them from us forever. They just hold the reports from us for most of our lifetime. So with that said, I'd be remiss to say to not mention it. And there's other things that I think this country should never forget as well, that they tried to make us forget. And a lot of that has to do with the embedded atrocities committed by our United States government and the citizens of our United States government. But we're in the process now. That's why there's so much divisiveness and resistance, because people want to acknowledge that, and there's people who don't want to acknowledge, and then there's everyone who feels like there's a way that things should be done, and then you have dissension all over. We're just as split and divided as we've ever been in my lifetime. With that said, I want to talk about a story as I turn my that comes out of Toronto, Canada. And it's about a crime organization. A very abrasive, young, so I'm just going to take you to it. Let's go.
Arms related.
Pam Steele.
Or Pam Steele. Going on for almost a year into gun and gang activity in Thorncliffe Park. After an alarming increase in firearms-related activity in that area, the Guns and Gang Task Force and the Centralized Shooting Response Teams launched a Project Compound, and that has resulted in the arrests of 10 men and 1 woman, as well as removing a significant quantity of drugs and guns from the streets. Police say it took an enormous amount of work on the part of its team of investigators.
Their dedication and efforts have effectively culminated in the successful apprehension of several high-risk subjects, ultimately resulting in an improved level of safety and security within this community as a whole.
Seized cocaine, fentanyl, marijuana, MDMA, $100,000 in cash, and 7 firearms. There are 95 charges in all, and police allege the ringleader is a Toronto man, Salman Jogiat, who faces by far the most counts at 42, including 2 of attempted murder and 8 of conspiracy to commit murder. He is just 19 years old.
His age, yes, is of concern. It's believed and alleged that this group purposefully
19 years old,
violent acts
the boss.
against targeted individuals with the sole purpose of monetary gain and retribution.
There is no question that residents have been feeling unsafe in the densely populated Thorncliffe Park, which is characterized by numerous high-rise apartment buildings in the Don Mills and Overlea area. They have noticed the increase in gun violence.
This area has been an area where they have lots of gangs, and it's very threatening sometimes.
We don't feel safe here, right? Every time we heard that sound of show.
The citizens are scared.
We cannot come walk there safely. Like, we always feel afraid, definitely.
An increase in shootings in general in Toronto is causing concern for police, who say that at 350 so far this year, that's 40 more than in the same period last year. Just last week, a drive-by shooting at Eglinton and Oakwood wounded 6. And early Tuesday morning, at least 80 rounds were fired in South Etobicoke that left 1 seriously injured.
These boys are spinning.
Marcel Wilson is a former gang member turned activist who says these kinds of incidents where there is indiscriminate gunfire is something new on Toronto streets.
What we're seeing is total chaos. There is no structure, there is no rule of thumb, where we used to have that. We used to follow a code.
Wilson says he was reformed after being shot and falling in love. He's sure that anyone can change and find another path given the right guidance. And while he says the age of the alleged ringleader in the Thorncliffe Park gang is concerning, it's not a surprise.
It's usually young people that are involved in the urban gang culture. And then, for lack of better terms, people normally will graduate into more organized structures.
Police are still looking for 2 men in connection with the Thorncliffe Park investigation. Sadi Zaloom and Sufyan Dadabai, both 26 years old, of Toronto, are wanted. Toronto police allege that they are engaged in ongoing criminal activity and are considered armed and dangerous.
Armed and
Anyone with
dangerous.
information is asked to call investigators.
Thank you, Pam. Man, love journalism. Wow. What a story. Out of Toronto. Wow. 19 years old, the boss arrested. 19 years old. And then he's got co-conspirators, and they say he the boss, and they 26, 27. So if the news got it right and the police got it right, he's got this 19-year-old calling shots. I know most of it is a lot of it is just, their version is the police and news version, and then you have the civilian version and you have the street version. So and all of them have truth to them. All of them. And then there's the real truth. But with all of that said, they got 41 charges on these kids. They said he had 200 or 100 grand in the house, fentanyl, MDMA, heroin, coke, all of that was in there. And this is just interesting, and they said, see, this gang works off of their fuel is retribution and having beef with someone. They need to have beef with someone. This is crazy to me. These kids, when you look at it, this kid is 19 years old. These are the bastard children of the Chicago drill scene. That's what these are now. We're in 2020. We see all this violence in the urban communities ticking up. And to be real, when you look at it, these are the bastard children of Chief Keef, man, and them. And the Chicago boys, man, and then the drill genre is huge now. And Chief Keef is the godfather, he's the originator. Probably honestly, Keef, man, in the last 10 years of hip hop, he's one of the most influential figures. He's really, and people like, what? Maybe the OGs like, what the? But when you look at it, that bang bang music that these kids love, they have taken it to the streets. And, even in Brooklyn, even Toronto. In Toronto, this kid's 19. When Keith and them came out, he was 10. He heard I Don't Like and all of that. Yo, they love, yo, man, if you want to say the music don't have no influence, you a liar, bro. You a liar, bro. Because we listen to that gangster shit too, and that music was like, yo. I don't care what nobody say that music didn't. Nah, that music had influence, whether it be minuscule or gigantic. It had a lot of influence. Yo, maybe at that time we said no, it didn't. But as grown men and grown women, we know it did. And these, like I said, these kids, man, it's so the similarities. If you know anything about the culture out there in the Windy City, aka Chirac, You know what time it is. If they get one of yours, we gotta get one of theirs. Have to. Get back gang. You know? And I got some more of that. This there we go. With this next story. Let me make sure we good over here, because I ain't doing this twice. Word to mommy. You know how we looking over here? Yeah, we good. We good, mommy. All right, let's get to the next one. I'm gonna let's get to this one. South of Brooklyn.
Their impact.
These two gangs here have been engaged in constant These two gangs here have been engaged in constant combat for the last 10 years.
The 73rd precinct
This is
in Brownsville,
5-minute walk
Brooklyn
from my
is one of the
house.
most dangerous neighborhoods in New York City.
5 minutes.
How widespread is their
Walking.
impact in Brooklyn?
It spreads
around the way.
into Bedford-Stuyvesant, it spreads into Brooklyn South, spreads into Crown Heights. This is the heart of it, though.
Lieutenant Ryan Gillis is with the Brooklyn North Violent Crime Squad. Detectives here investigate gang violence.
The driving factor in shootings being up, I believe, is the gang violence. That's going
Numbers
on.
is so
Detectives brought us to
sky
the Brownsville
high.
housing complex, the site of an alleged gang shooting at the height of the pandemic in April.
They came out right that door and they shot blindly into the crowd hanging out by the seats over here, and subsequently an unintended female was shot.
Their investigation led to the arrest of 3 suspects for
Young
attempted murder.
boys.
Why is there more gang activity right now than last year?
Because some prominent gang members have been shot, and that creates a retaliatory effect. Back in the day, gang members used to mark their territory using graffiti. It doesn't occur as much now. What we see is they're using social media as the graffiti.
Rival gangs taunting one another in song, which they post online. The lieutenant says immediately after this song was released, there were 22 shootings between 2 rival gangs. How do you use the music then to work in your investigations?
When they reference those specific incidents that occurred, we know that's something we have to have a laser focus on to try to solve, because it's obviously perpetuating the violence until someone's brought to account for that act.
The lieutenant says while NYPD budget cuts have not directly impacted this squad, disbanding of the anti-crime unit this summer, which was also tasked with getting guns off the street, has added to their workload.
We undertake all those tasks and we assign as much personnel.
They should
as we
never
can,
disbanded
but
the
after
anti-crime
working on
unit.
one from last week, 2-3 more are coming in.
Civil unrest and calls for police reform in the wake of George Floyd's death has also had an effect. Some people have mistrust for police. Some people are hesitant to call the police or seek out the police's help. Has that had any kind of impact on you this year?
I do see that. If the community doesn't help us, we're never going to achieve the goal that we want to achieve. And that goal is to hold all these gang members that are driving this violence accountable for their actions. We need the community's help because they're the ones that know exactly what occurred.
Year to date, gun arrests are down, but they're rapidly increasing. The NYPD just marked a 25-year milestone with 160 gun-related arrests last week alone. In Brownsville, Brooklyn, Allie Bauman, CBS 2 News.
Allie Bauman. Of course, Allie do her thing. Yo, man. So, same thing that I just showed you in Toronto. This is right around the corner. Like I said, you see these young boys coming out the building, they clapping, they letting it go. These kids are heavily influenced by the gang culture. It is what it is with them. You're not gonna get to them, and with the pandemic and the quarantine and the cops chilling and falling back because of the civil unrest and the complaints about the defund the police has the cops feeling away where they're falling back because, like I said once again on another video, there was a lot of things. They cut $1 billion, I think, from their $12 billion budget. I could be wrong, but I know it was multiple $1 billion budget. It was 8 to 14. I don't remember the exact number, but they cut $1 billion from it, which is a lot of money. But when you look at it in the percentage of things, it was about 10% of the budget. But to take it off, to use that as an excuse to strip the anti-crime unit, there was other places where them funds can be taken away from. But they say the overtime. The cops are still out there. I've been in Brownsville. I've been across the bridge. The cops are there. They're in uniform, in unmarked cars in uniform. So they still can kind of creep, but you see them. The kids, them gangbanging kids, they see them, they know. And they're letting people get away with a lot more than they should be getting away with. And people in the community complain. I've heard people say, yo, this is bullshit, So that perception nationally that, oh, this is what they wanted. These people you see speaking for black people and for the hood, like BLM, like they speaking, we want this, we want that, is not necessarily what the hood wants. And there's still people who are voiceless in these neighborhoods. They don't want not want police there, or they don't want to not have police there. This is, but there has to be a median solution. Because of course people don't want to get choked out by the police and put it in the knee in their neck and all of that. Of course not. But to complain, for the people to complain about it, and then this is the reaction. But like I said, these criminals and these gangbangers, they're gonna capitalize. This is America. Everyone learns to capitalize on no matter what you're doing, whether you're a stockbroker, whether you're a kid in 5th grade and there's a substitute teacher, you can capitalize on that. Whether you're a businessman, and you're getting money, whether you see the girl, you get advantage, they take advantage of her, capitalize. That's people capitalize. Capitalize now. It's not a nice word. And these kids have an opportunity to get their enemies. That's what they want to do. See, you gotta think like a wolf to know what the wolf gonna do. And everyone acting like sheep. The divisiveness is it's gonna hurt. Not the divisiveness, but the proxy, not the divisiveness, because people were never really huggy-lovey, but it was definitely all tolerated each other. But cops are very sensitive, police are sensitive people. They're a sensitive group. The black community, the urban community right now, we're a sensitive group, emotional group. And so are the police. And they on 2 different sides of the spectrum. But I like what the detective said. He's like, yo, without the people, we can't fix this. So he's still saying, I need y'all. So there's still a glimmer, a hope, I like structure. I like stability. I don't like chaos, man. But, I'm ready for it. I don't know. I went to this. I've been in the military, so that means I was willing to die for someone that I never met or didn't know, or someone who didn't give a shit about me, or maybe even hated me. I was willing to die for them. That's the contract I signed when I joined Uncle Sam in January of 1998. Here we are, 22 years later and 9 months, and I don't feel that way. I'm not willing to die for people I don't know. I asked myself that this morning. I did. I said, yo, W, would you die for someone? Would you go be a hero? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe if somebody if it was a kid in the train tracks, I'll go in there and go get him, yeah. But to go ride and vouch my opinion and wild out for people who don't give a shit about you on any spectrum. I don't know if I want to do that anymore. I ride for my fam and my friends, my loved ones, and my home and my community, to protect what's around me. But I don't know how that made me sound, y'all, but I don't know if I want to do that because there's no loyalty, It's like the gangs, yo. They live in a death culture. And when things hit the fan, they all mature. They start at 15, 14, and they turn to 24, and you be like, yo, this is the one dude. I killed for these people. And they don't even really care like that. They wait, yo. I know people who have went to war in Iraq, and they've killed people. They've killed soldiers who are 15, 14 years old. And they twisted their brain out. And they never was the same again. They came home. They just stayed around. But, we made that sacrifice at 20. Do I have that courage in my early 40s? Do I want to do that? I don't know. Maybe it's a younger person thing. But I'm not here to judge. I'm just keeping it real, yo. But anyway, like, dislike, share, all that stuff. Your Morning Cup. Brownsville Skyline. Brownsville, USA, baby. Much love to y'all. All my people there, Be safe. We're East New York. Same thing. All around the globe. Hold it down and bring back the plainclothes cops, yo. Yo, I'm out. Your Morning Cup.